Today's episode is a Mahabharata story featuring Prince Arjun and a construction problem. Can he build a bridge of arrows across an ocean? And with a monkey for quality control. Namaskar and welcome to Stories from India. This is a podcast that will take you on a journey through the rich mythology, folklore, and history of the Indian subcontinent. I am Narad Muni, the celestial storyteller and the original Time Lord. With my ability to travel through space and time, I can bring you fascinating stories from the past, the present, and the future. From the epic tales of the Mahabharata and Ramayana to the folk tales of the Panchatantra, to stories of Akbar Birbal and Tenali Raman, I have a story for every occasion. The purpose of the stories is neither to pass judgment nor to indoctrinate. My goal is only to share these stories with people who may not have heard them before, and to make them more entertaining for those who have. In this episode, we are going to do a story that is sort of from the Mahabharata. And by sort of, I mean that it doesn't feature in the canonical versions. This is more of a folk tale. If you haven't heard previous Mahabharata episodes, that is totally fine. I'll recap the only context you need. There were two sets of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and the entire story revolves around a dispute about who got to be the next emperor. Arjun was the middle of 5 Pandav brothers, and he was the expert archer, the best of his time. And his teacher, Dronacharya, had worked hard to keep that so, including stifling the competition through extreme means, by literally forcing one of them to cut off his own thumb. The net result was that Arjun was indeed the expert archer of his time. He would use his bow and arrow for everything, from clipping his toenails to turning on the TV, to turning off candles, or opening a soda can. You know, all the things that ordinary people wouldn't dream of using archery skills for. That's all the context you need about the Mahabharata at least. But you need a bit of context about the Ramayana as well. The TLDR is that Ram, the crown prince of Ayodhya, was in exile when his wife Sita was abducted by the evil king of Lanka. Ram got help from the Vanars, a race of monkeys, and that included the greatest Vanar of all, Hanuman. With the Vanars' help, Ram built a bridge across the ocean, killed Ravan, and rescued Sita. There is one character who dominates both epics, and that is Vishnu. Vishnu is the preserver of the universe. Together with Brahma the creator and Shiva, its destroyer, the three of them form the holy trinity of Indian mythology. Vishnu doesn't appear as himself in either epic, but rather as his avatars. Vishnu is Ram. He is also part of Ram's 3 brothers, but he is Ram more than anyone else. And in the Mahabharata, Vishnu is Krishna. Krishna is Arjun's bestie, the Pandav's cousin, and the one who provided them immense support in their battle. So that's all the context you need. Let's begin the story with Arjun. He was wandering the countryside. He was not on holiday. Rather, This was exile time for him. For long and complicated reasons, he broke an oath. It was an absolutely silly oath to begin with. But that didn't matter to Arjun's elder brother, Yudhishthir, who always insisted on following the letter of the law. So Arjun made the most of it by touring the country. He missed his wife, Draupadi, the most. He often wrote letters to her and described his adventures. Arjun ended up marrying not one, not two, but three other princesses on his travels. But you can bet that he didn't elaborate too much on Ulupi, Chitrangada, and Subhadra in his letters to Draupadi. You might wonder where all Arjun went. Well, first he started in a spiral around Hastinapur. He visited one neighboring kingdom after another. Truth be told, he would have liked to just stay the entire year of his exile in the very first kingdom he visited. And being a prince of the much more powerful neighboring kingdom, his hosts had no choice but to let him in. However, soon they found out that he wasn't the crown prince. He wasn't even the brother of the current crown prince. Technically, because there were 101 Kaurav brothers and there were two Pandavas older than Arjun, it meant Arjun was 103rd in line. It was that realization that invariably turned the dinner table conversation towards the excellent quality of street food in the next kingdom over, and the wonderful new road that led there. Arjun could take a hint as much as anyone, but he felt they were really pushing it when his hosts began slipping travel brochures into his newspaper. The final straw came in the form of the crossword clues, which the hosts knew were Arjun's favorite. The clues and the answers had references to the words road, hotel, ticket, mileage, tourist, and many more. So, Arjun moved on to the next kingdom, and then the one after that, and so on. And right now, months later, and after having married three princesses, Arjun was visiting historic places. Every location where something interesting had happened, like the crematorium where Raja Vikram had caught his betal again and again, or the one where Narsimha emerged from the pillar and crushed Hiranyakashipu, or the one where Vali and Sugriv had their epic fight. But now he was at the site that he had been looking forward to most of all. The place where Ram and the Vanars built the bridge across the ocean to Lanka. Arjun looked at the raging sea ahead of him and the massive waves crashing against the remnants of the colossal stone bridge, which was quite in ruins now. That is a sight that would have left an ordinary person awestruck. But Arjun was not ordinary. Meh is all that he could say. You seem oddly unimpressed, a voice spoke up behind him. Arjun, ever the cautious warrior, pulled his bow and arrow swiftly and aimed it, and then relaxed. This was no threat. It was just a monkey. Correction, an old monkey. Correction, a very, very old monkey. He was no threat, but more of a curiosity. You can talk, Arjun said, with obvious surprise in his voice. Of course I can talk. Why does that surprise you? You seem to have accepted the Ramayana as canon. Surely, there are many monkeys in there that can talk and do much more.
Yeah, but all those monkeys in the Ramayana had obviously been superheroes. Not frail and old like this one,
Arjun thought, but did not say. Ordinary monkeys doing ordinary human things gave him Planet of the Apes scares. To sort of change the topic, Arjun asked why the monkey cared. I don't really. You can be impressed or not. I just found it curious that every tourist who comes here to visit has a jaw dropping moment. And so far, you're the only exception here. Arjun didn't know what this monkey's game was. Maybe he had some souvenirs to sell, since he said he had been observing tourists. He might pull Arjun into a casual conversation, establish some kind of camaraderie, and then boom, monkey business. Suddenly, the monkey would pull out a catalogue and offer Arjun a Ram Setu snow globe, or a shell necklace, or a miniature floating rock. If he wasn't careful, he might end up on the wrong end of the sale here. Arjun said,
look, I don't mean to offend all of monkey kind. I know this was an engineering marvel for that time and day when this bridge was constructed. But it seems like such a waste of effort when there's a much simpler way.
A boat? Anticipated the monkey. But Arjun shook his head.
People jump to that conclusion. But boats are not practical when you need hundreds and thousands of them to transport all the Vanars across. You'd only do a small fraction at a time, and that would have allowed the Lankans to quickly crush whoever did make it. Not a very practical way. And neither could they ask Hanuman to become supersize and simply be the bridge from here to Lanka. Hanuman could certainly grow that large, but that would almost certainly cause a tsunami somewhere else. Too much of a risk.
What then is your simpler yet practical solution to this problem?
I can't believe I have to spell it out to you. Ram was the most skillful archer. He had more powerful and complex arrows than anyone can imagine. Why couldn't he have simply created a network of arrows and formed them into a bridge?
The monkey looked skeptical. This is a howler, he said, though he was clearly not laughing. You actually believe that a bridge made of arrows could have transported the Vanar army across? You're being ridiculous. That was all that Arjun could handle. He had to prove this insolent monkey wrong, and the only way was a quick demonstration. Before long, this monkey would be begging for Arjun's forgiveness for having misjudged the incredibly powerful skill of archery. Arjun got out his bow. He took 3 arrows. One was a multiplier, another a land-seeking one, and the third was a spiral one. He integrated the arrows with a special spell and fired it in the direction of Lanka. It was a beautiful sight to see. The complex arrow spread out and increased in volume because of the multiplier function. Soon, there was a solid bridge made of arrows that extended as far as the eye could see. The monkey nodded, but didn't seem all that impressed himself. I'll take your word for it that it does go all the way to Lanka. and that the bridge doesn't just abruptly end in the middle of the ocean. But even then, this doesn't seem like it might work at all. It's such a narrow path. Were the Vanars supposed to walk single file? But that isn't even the most problematic thing about this bridge. This is a very flimsy bridge. I bet it couldn't even hold my weight, let alone that of the entire Vanar army. Deeply offended, Arjun invited the monkey to walk across. The monkey stepped forward to the shore and placed just his tail on the bridge. The entire bridge immediately collapsed. Arjun turned a bright shade of red.
I must have missed adding some load bearing arrows at regular intervals. Sorry, let me give it another shot.
He didn't wait for a go ahead. He quickly integrated 4 arrows this time and then built another bridge.
Give it a try now, monkey. And if this bridge collapses, I swear I'll jump into a fire.
Be careful what promises you make, the monkey muttered, and then proceeded towards the bridge again. He put 1 foot on it, and the bridge held. Arjun smiled, but that immediately changed when the monkey stepped fully onto the bridge. It collapsed again. Luckily, the old monkey managed to jump off of it. Arjun was thankful for that, at least. He wasn't sure that he would be able to swim. Arjun couldn't understand why this bridge had collapsed. He had put in enough load-bearing support to be able to take the weight of a mountain. But he had given his word, and as prince and representative of the most powerful empire in India, he could not simply go back on it. He began collecting firewood. Pretty soon, he had lit a massive fire. He wrote his will, wrote a last letter to Draupadi, and then got ready to enter the fire. Throughout all this, the monkey was coolly observing from the side, unperturbed. Arjun got ready to step into the fire, but he was interrupted. Not by the monkey, but by a complete stranger. "What's going on here?" the stranger asked. He was a young man who had a radiant aura about him and a friendly face. A face that said, "I'll help you with any problem you have." Arjun and the monkey explained the story. The young stranger appeared skeptical. "First, I'm not calling you liars. Please understand that. But there might be a mistake here. Without anyone else as an eyewitness, how can I believe that A, you could construct a bridge like that, and B, that it couldn't handle the monkey's weight?" Arjun and the monkey both protested. Yes, it had happened. They weren't delusional or anything. But what they all agreed on was to provide a live demonstration, a reenactment, if you will. So Arjun took up his bow again and made the bridge just as he had made it the second time. This time, the small difference was that he was focused on something else. The last time had been all about the arrows and how to launch them. This time, his archery skills took a backseat. He was content to fire the arrows on muscle memory alone. Maybe because he already knew the outcome. This time, his thoughts dwelled on the stranger. Who was this guy? He reminded Arjun strangely of Krishna. Yeah, he had just visited Krishna in Dwarka, and Krishna had the same calm, peaceful expression as the stranger.
Bring me any problem, and I can help you,
Krishna might have said. There might be a tornado carrying sharks and alligators that was headed their way, and Krishna would have remained calm.
It's just a Sharknado gator. We'll get through this,
he imagined Krishna saying. He wished Krishna were here right now. That guy was fantastic in any situation. Arjun completed the bridge. He knew that it was going to collapse again, so he wasn't really hoping for anything different here. And that's why he was shocked when the bridge held. It didn't budge even a bit, even when the monkey hopped on it. The monkey grew massive in size and became a giant. If you haven't guessed it yet, the monkey was Hanuman. Hanuman jumped up and down, but the bridge held.
Yup, this one's good,
Hanuman said, nodding to the stranger.
I think he has learned his lesson.
The stranger removed his disguise, and then Arjun understood. It was Vishnu. Vishnu as Ram, Vishnu as Krishna. This was the preserver of the universe. And apparently, Arjun himself had learned some kind of a lesson. What was it? He wondered to himself. Always have a witness. Don't make a reckless promise, like jumping into a fire. Vishnu seemed to have sensed Arjun's thoughts.
Don't make a reckless remark, like being too judgmental of the past. Don't overestimate your own abilities as an archer. You are remarkable, there is no question. But remember, being the best archer doesn't make you the best person.
Arjun bowed his head humbly and thanked the two of them for the lesson. That was something he was going to keep in mind, for sure. He definitely relied on his bow and arrow after that. But he did use his fingers to open a soda can and a nail clipper for his toenails. Arjun got more than just a lesson out of it. Hanuman promised to ride on the flag of Arjun's chariot whenever Arjun rode into battle. If Arjun had Krishna by his side, everything would be okay. But Hanuman figured every little bit might be helpful. Sure, Hanuman could by himself have simply crushed all of Arjun's enemies. But that wouldn't be very fair to the enemies. And it would only make Arjun complacent. So, Hanuman was providing just a tiny bit of help to Arjun. A gentle nudge, really, every time he looked up at the flag on his own chariot. That's it for this time. Like I said, this isn't an original Mahabharata story. This one was a later addition featuring the same characters. One variation of this story shows that Vishnu meant to humble both Arjun and Hanuman. But I don't believe that version at all. Hanuman is already one of the most unselfish, one of the most humble characters in any of these stories. The version where Hanuman and Vishnu had planned this together is a lot more believable. Other Mahabharata episodes are linked in the show notes and on the site sfipodcast.com if you want to check them out. In the next episode, we'll do a folktale. This one is part of a collection of stories told by the 19th century guru, Ramakrishna Paramhams. It features a scholar who tries to school an uneducated milkmaid. only to end up in the soup, or rather, water. Thank you all for the comments on social media and on Spotify's Q&A. I can't directly reply to the questions there, but I'll try and address them here on this show. Except this time, and probably next time, because I'm recording this show in advance and I have not seen your comments yet. If you have any comments or suggestions, or if there are particular stories you'd like to hear, please do let me know by leaving a comment or a review on the site sfipodcast.com, or reply to the questions on Spotify's Q&A. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. You can listen to the show on all podcast apps, and that now includes YouTube. If you want to send me an email, it's storiesfromindiapodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get notified automatically of new episodes. A big thank you to each and every one of you for your continued support and your feedback. The music is from purpleplanet.com. That's purple-planet.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.